The evidence is substantial. It is alarming and unnerving.
That is Texas House Republican Andrew Murr, chair of the General Investigating Committee there in Texas. His reasons for impeaching Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. We are back with the panel. Michael, that's what happened yesterday. The House voted overwhelmingly to send this now over to the state Senate there, which ironically, the Attorney General's wife is a state senator there in Texas.
Well, I read through the articles of impeachment. It's very, very serious. It's abuse of office. It's also alleging a variety of bribes to the tune of, please renovate my house and in exchange for favors. So I'm glad that the Republicans down there are acting out against one of their own, because it's an abuse of trust and it breeds cynicism in American politics. So they should prosecute it to the fullest.
Well, Anne-Marie, he's got a lot of defenders out there, President Trump, Ted Cruz, others who are saying it's because he's so conservative and he's going after what they call the rhino Republicans in Texas. And that's why he's having this trouble. He said the same thing. He denies all the allegations and says this is just kind of a political witch hunt on me. But Republicans are very involved in this.
They're not just involved. They're the ones, at least in the House of Representatives, that led the way. And we have to say what happens in the Senate. What's interesting, you mentioned his wife. She is a senator, but not only that, the Texas Constitution says that all senators need to be present for an impeachment trial, but also if it's personally involving you, you have to recuse yourself. It's going to be interesting on how she votes or doesn't vote. Yeah, but what's going on there, it does seem like this was beyond the pale for Republicans. And this is an individual that for years there's been allegations against him. And what seems to have done him in this time is when he went to the state and asked for funds from the state to end the settlement for these whistleblowers that were part of his team. This is more than $3 million. And for Republicans, they were saying, we cannot give you state funds for this. And that seems to be why you saw this happen so quickly over this week.
Okay, so let's bring it back here to the federal level, because Senator Bob Menendez, who has faced allegations and trials and things before about things, apparently maybe back in the hot seat. The New York Times reporting this week, federal prosecutors and the FBI are investigating whether Senator Robert Menendez or his wife received unreported gifts of a luxury car and an apartment in Washington from a halal meat company that is also the focus of a criminal inquiry. Two people with knowledge of the matter said on Thursday. His spokespeople are saying this is going to wash out. There's nothing to it. He's going to be fine. They're denying the allegations, but this is not his first rodeo on this.
It's true, Shannon. And of course, as you said, that his spokespeople, the senator himself, has said there's nothing to this. There's an investigation that is playing out. You mentioned the fact that he was cleared in 2015 of similar charges in terms of gifts being exchanged and things like that. But there's a clear line in terms of whether the senator is guilty or not, based on disclosure laws and based on was there anything traded for that in terms of legislation or policy changes and things like that. I think that process is clear and will clear the senator just as it did in 2015.
Yeah, and so folks know he had a mistrial in 2017 on corruption charges, and then before the DOJ retried him, the judge dismissed all of these charges. So, Charlie, he said this is another one of these cases where it's not going to stick.
Yeah, it's sort of hard. I mean, whether he did get ultimately cleared the last time, but there's a lot of sleazy stuff that he was involved in, and I think it's also sort of interesting going back to the Ken Paxton situation that a lot of these allegations that he's been accused of began back before he's won 2 elections since some of these first allegations have been made. And I think it sort of underscores the degree to which voters have a very low regard for public figures these days. And it makes it all the worse when you have what is clear weaponization of this process based on politics. And we've seen this with President Trump, the allegations made against him. And it really does make regular people who read stories about, like, say, Ken Paxton, and they think, well, is this real or is it not real?